and broadcast live.
Welcome everyone to the 11th COVID-19 CommunityResources.com Town Hall meeting powered by the Center for Closing the Health Gap. Today we have a hip hop summit with young voices. We want to hear what they have to say. We want you to call in and ask questions and make your comments. I'm your moderator, Cincinnati City Councilmember Jan-Michele Kearney. First of all, we've got to thank our producers and tech team, Jan-Michele and Lauren Harden, for making sure all this technology runs smoothly. As a reminder, we are recording this session so that we can repost it on COVID-19 CommunityResources.com. I just want to remind you, you can start now entering your questions on the Q&A. You can enter them in the chat or the comment section on Facebook and the Q&A. I'm not sure if we're going to unmute you or just read your questions, but your voices will be heard. So let me introduce our guest today. We have a really great panel team. We've got, and you guys just kind of wave at everybody, okay, when I call your name. Lando Chapman Sr., DJ HD, Tropikana, Simone Butcher, Paydro, and Dejah Bishop. Thank you all of you for being here. I would like each of our panelists to just say a few brief intro remarks, and then we're going to get right into the Q&A and the discussion. Okay, let's start with Lando. Is Lando logged on? I know there was a log on issue. If Lando's logged on,
working on it right now. He's not on just yet.
He's not on yet. Okay. Well, Lando Chapman Sr.'s on the way. Let's start with DJ HD. We just left him down at Washington Park. So after you all listen to this town hall, get up and down to Washington Park. It's a great time down there celebrating Juneteenth. Okay, DJ HD, tell us a little bit about yourself.
How y'all doing? My name is DJ HD. I'm a DJ, party planner, community organizer. You know, I'm just out here. I love black people. That's pretty much me.
Yeah, and I should say he organized the protest. Was that like maybe 3 weeks ago? And I don't know, the time is rolling together, but there were like several thousand people.
Yeah, it was the first black-led protest in Cincinnati following the George Floyd murder, and yeah, we brought out about 2,500 people. Yeah, and we marched from Washington Park down to City Hall, and then we marched back, and it was all peaceful.
All right. I was going to say to Jan-Michele, it sounds like DJ's sound isn't up. I don't know if that's me or if that's him, but I'll check too. Okay.
That might be me. I'm still here at Juneteenth right now, so there's a little celebration going on in the back.
All right, cool. All right, great. Okay, Tropikana.
Hi, I'm Tropikana. I do middays on 101.1 The Wiz, Monday through Friday from 10 to 3 p.m. I'm still getting used to that new shift. I was doing afternoons prior to that. And I also am on the radio in Columbus as well as in Cleveland on the weekends as well. I work for Urban One Cincinnati.
All right. Everybody listens to Tropikana. All right, Simone Butcher. Oh, Simone, you're muted. Yeah, you're still muted. Okay. Oh, there you go.
Okay, trying to work this. Sorry, guys.
There you go.
Pretty nice. Marketing professional.
Oh, Simone, excuse me, 1 second. Hey, everybody else, mute yourself. That might be background and watching the podcast, but I think we need to be muted. Okay. Simone, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. First time doing this, a little nervous, but background, I'm a marketing professional. Main operations were face-to-face community customer engagements throughout the tri-states and high volume areas.
All right, good. That's great.
Looking to get more involved.
Yeah, no need to be nervous because we're all in here. We're just gonna have a conversation. People are gonna call in. We're gonna ask questions, talk. You guys just, people want to hear young voices. That's really the key. Okay, Paydro. Paydro, I think you're still muted too. You got to unmute. Looks like you're driving.
Hey, how you doing? Well, my name is Paydro. I'm a musician. I do club promotion and general promotion as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, Dejah Bishop.
Hey guys, my name is Dejah. I'm CEO of Pretty Wild Promotions, basically an event planning, marketing, and promotion company, and also CEO of Sweet Licks. So glad to be here.
Thank you. So panelists, the reason, we're here because you're here because we want to hear your voices. We've had a lot of town hall meetings, and often the question is asked, well, what do young people think? They're the ones really leading the protests. You all are really leading the movement. Lots of people are involved, all different ages, but you all are really in the forefront of everything. Let's start by talking about COVID-19, because we were talking about COVID even before the protests started. And there was some concern that maybe younger people weren't really concerned about COVID, didn't think it was really a threat, and weren't taking it seriously. We kept getting that same comment or the same question over and over. So would each of you respond to that?
I'll say,
I don't have to call your name, just go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead and speak.
So I'll start. I'll say, I don't think that young people are not taking it serious. I think the main thing that's going through young people's minds are like, the young people are the people that are out here that are the essential workers. These are people that work at the gas stations, fast food restaurants, the grocery stores. And they kind of like need to work to survive. So they don't really have the luxury of, just staying in the house and quarantining like most people. So, and a lot of the younger people are entrepreneurs too. So, they getting the short end of the stick too. So they kind of forced to be outside in order to make ends meet. So then, their exposure level is like a everyday kind of thing where, the normal person is probably like, maybe an older person who have been working for a while, maybe got some money saved up, or, just got like a different type of lifestyle, can just sit back a little bit. So, they kind of feel like, okay, I can sit back. I don't have to work, maybe for this 1 or 2 months. But, young people don't have that. They don't have that savings, and they don't have that ability to do that. So, I won't say they're not afraid of it, but, we feel like, being safe is not going out and going outside. It's like being safe is when you outside, keeping hand sanitizer, having gloves, having a mask, and, not going around your relatives who may be, immunocompromised. You know what I'm saying? So if I know I work an essential job and I have to be amongst people, I'm not about to go to my grandma's house like right after that. And I'm not about to, I'm not about to be around my cousin with asthma, and I'm just, I'm just minding the company that I keep. But
I don't think they don't. I mean, for the most part, the younger generation, we didn't think that it would affect us. So, because a lot of people we was hearing about it, but we didn't actually see it firsthand. So now that we see it firsthand, we understand the severity of it. We didn't at first because we hearing about it on TV and stuff like that. That when you hear stuff on TV, a lot of it's not true. It's just made up of a way for everybody to be scared. So a lot of us wasn't taking it serious at first until our friends start getting it in. Now the percentage done went up since the world done opened up here. At first, we really wasn't having as many cases, so we wasn't thinking it was serious. Like, we ain't gonna catch it. But now you see people taking it more serious because you see everybody wearing masks. At first, it was people outside didn't wear masks. They didn't care to wear a mask. Now people is coming outside with masks on. So yes, to answer your question, yes, we did not take it serious at first because I'm outside. I'm outside every day, and I see the change in it. At first, everybody wasn't wearing it, and people talking about it on Facebook, making it a joke and everything like that because we didn't think it was serious. We didn't take it serious. So.
Well, Paydro, let me ask you now, do you have friends who actually ended up getting COVID-19? Or
I just got over COVID. A lot of my friends got it right now.
Okay, and tell us how they're doing.
I mean, for the most part, it's not as bad as how they make it seem, but it can be bad for certain people because certain people is dealing with your immune system. So for the most part, I really didn't have any symptoms. So I was outside, didn't even know that I had it until someone else that was close to me said they had it, so I had to go get checked. My symptoms weren't as severe as other people's that I know. Like some people, they having problems breathing. They can't move. They can't get out the bed. They stuck. And when it hit me, I'm like, this is COVID. I mean, this is the corona. Like, it's not affecting me because my immune system is different than other people's. But I got close friends. They stuck in the bed for 3-4 days and can't move because of it. So when we start seeing that, that's when we start taking it serious. Like, cause it's really out here. You don't see it, so you're not thinking that it's real because you're not really seeing it firsthand. Now that people are seeing it firsthand, everybody is paying attention.
So Paydro, you actually had it, but you didn't even know. So how did you feel when they told you were positive? Was it? I mean, I think I might just be freaking out.
When they told me I was positive, that's when I knew. That's when I started having the symptoms. I lost my taste and I lost my smell. Other than that, I was fine. I didn't know until the results actually came back, and I was like, they was like, well, you already had it for 4 or 5 days now, and I'm like, huh? And then soon the next day they told me that I started having symptoms.
Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on that one about, you know, how your view has changed or if it's changed? And you all can unmute, panelists, as long as, if it's noisy where you are, like I'm thinking DJ HD down there, Washington Park, might have to mute till it's time to talk. But if you're at a quiet place, you don't have to mute. You can just pitch in. Okay,
I kind of agree with both Paydro and HD, where what HD said is 100% valid, that a lot of us in this generation don't have the luxury of being able to just quarantine and stay at home or just take the time off and not, you know, deal with it. And what Paydro said is real as well too, that it was a joke at first. It was, you know, just common conversation. And I think that a big part of that is that we are kind of a generation of show and prove, like we want to see the facts. We don't want you to scare us. We want to be able to touch it and feel it and know that it's real. So it did take for the world to kind of open up and for us to see people in our neighborhoods get it. The numbers didn't mean anything to us. It was just a number on television until it was your friend that you could put a face and a name and say, oh, they got it. They're going through it. So I agree with both of them on that end. I think that before it really got to a place where we are starting to normalize going to get tested, or the testing is even made available to us, it really wasn't a thing.
Okay. Simone, did you want to, or Dejah? You guys,
I'll speak again if they not.
oh no, go right ahead. I think Simone is still working on the mute thing. Go ahead, DJ. Simone, catch up. Hold on.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely not to the point where people are definitely taking it even a little more seriously. I'm seeing some people not going everywhere, and a lot more people are wearing masks now, and you know, gloves, and you see them, you know, keeping the hand sanitizer. But like I said, the main thing that people are doing to take it serious is not, you know, not going around people who are like immunocompromised. Like if you know for a fact, or the elderly, or you know what I mean. That's like, I think that's the best thing you can do, because we've heard about a lot of people getting it our age, but we haven't heard about nobody, you know, about it taking nobody out, or, you know, I haven't heard that many cases.
Hey, HD, you know the problem is a lot of people is scared to go get the test because a lot of people are saying it hurt. It actually don't hurt. It tickles real quick for 2 seconds, but people actually is saying it hurt, and it's scaring people from going to get the test.
And that's because what they were showing on television, they were showing that long nasal stick that you have to stick all the way back to your brain. I got tested this week. It wasn't that. So
it wasn't that. Yeah.
It wasn't that at all.
Mm-hmm.
That was a problem
as well.
Yeah, that's good to let people know it doesn't hurt, because yeah, I mean, a lot of us can't deal with that. So yeah.
I think it's dope, Paydro, that you are even sharing that you had COVID, because a big thing with our community is it's almost like you're embarrassed to find out if you have it. Or I have a friend who found out that she was positive, and she was like, I'm so embarrassed. And we had to talk through that, because it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's not a death sentence. It's not the end of your life. It's not anything embarrassing. And it's better to know your symptoms so that you can be safe and keep everybody else around you. I commend you, Paydro, for taking charge and like making that be a thing to let people know it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not bad.
Yeah,
Not the end of the world.
people are actually scared to say that they had it. For what reason, I don't know, but a lot of people are scared to say that they had it because it's like, oh, you got COVID, I don't want to be around you.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I can see that, like if I had it and then I would, I might feel guilty because I'm thinking all the people I might have passed it to, because they do that contact tracing, which is so important. And then you contact the people you've been around. So that, I mean, that could be why people are nervous, but it's really, you're doing people a favor by letting them know, you've been exposed so that they can do something about it early. But yeah.
And
yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I wanted to chime in. I definitely agree with everybody. I think for my personal experience, I feel like I had it last year before it became like a huge thing and nationally known and stuff. I feel like I've had it already, only because I've never had the flu before. And I was down in Georgia for a few months, and then one day out the blue, I kind of just got sick. But a lot of times I feel like if I get sick, it's me overworking. So I'll just try to rest and things like that. And I was like, it felt like I was dead. Like, I'm like, I can't move, but I still forced myself to get up. And then my cousin, he was like, you're gonna get somebody else sick. And then he ended up getting sick like 2 days after that. But at the time, this was like November. So it wasn't a huge thing. So I'm just thinking I came down with a common cold and, I was just down. And then once January came and we were talking about COVID, it was like, wasn't this something everybody had a few months ago? And I'm like, well, did I have it? I don't know if I had it. So, I mean, I just took the proper steps to just stay away from my grandparents. I always wear a mask, but I was still out every day.
Yeah. Well, that was good. Yeah. So, so how are you trying to get the message out to other people? Because do you feel like it's changing? Are they are young people getting the message? Simone, you want to weigh in on that one?
I'm not really sure. I don't think it's really changing as a part two. Is our age group properly educated on the matter? Do we know that we, as African Americans, we do have underlying pre-existing conditions that, the corona would attach to us faster, more? The perception of reality.
So are people your age talking about it more with each other? I mean, because I know, was it Dejah HD who said it was kind of like a joke on Facebook? Has that changed?
Yes, because we were all agreeing, yeah, it was a myth. Black people couldn't get it. We don't need to wear masks. Masks were turned into a fashion statement for a second.
And I noticed a lot of masks have like statements on them, political statements, and maybe it's getting kind of cool to wear masks now.
We're gonna make it cool. If we gotta wear a mask, it's gonna be a cute one.
All right. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Well, speaking of COVID, the thing that really, I think, brought a lot of people's attention to it more so was when the protests happened. Because there, as Dejah HD said, he had 2,500 people out there. Some had on masks, some didn't. And some people, I think, we kind of stopped thinking about COVID for a while. So let's just talk about the protest and your perception of how it's going and how the the world is actually receiving it, because you guys are really the leaders in the forefront here. Who wants to weigh in on that? DJ, well, let me start with you, because Dejah HD, because you really, I remember you said at your protest that you felt like you just had to do something. You needed to step up and do something.
Can I get the question one more time? Because I actually tripped the power back there, so I had to leave the call and come back. What was the question again?
All right, so we've kind of moved from talking about COVID for a minute to talking about the protests, because it seems like, after George Floyd was killed and the protests started, that people kind of stopped thinking about COVID. So I want to just talk about the protests for a minute, and how
Okay.
because you
Yeah.
stepped up and said you felt like you had a.
I don't think talking about, going from the protests, I don't think we was stop talking about COVID, but I think COVID is like a part of a larger conversation about racism because more Black people are out there on the front lines being essential workers, that it's a disproportionate rate, of Black people catching this disease. So like when we talk about,
So that's trip. Oh, you just got muted. You got muted. DJHD? Okay. Oh, he got muted. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll get back to
get back with me in a second. It's an emergency over here.
Okay. All right. All right. Take care. Come right back. All right. So let me ask you guys a question here because we have some questions coming up. This person is anonymous. And so they said, what do people mean when they say defund the police? How would Cincinnati function if we didn't have police? Okay, who wants to answer that? And you all can just unmute and go ahead and answer.
That is a really good question. The general consensus that I gather from the majority of everyone who is calling for the police to be defunded is not to disassemble the police, not to annihilate or get rid of police, but when they talk about defunding, not too long ago, Councilman Silbach posted the city budget of what the breakdown was for the proposed budget. When they talk about defunding, they talk about reallocating some of the funds that go to policing communities and putting them into places that would be more beneficial to services that would, one, lower the crime rate, as well as make the neighborhoods a safer place, like social services. Coming up with sending money back into the neighborhoods to open up the youth centers that we had when we grew up. When I was a kid, there was a youth center on every corner that you could go play ball. There was places I could go study after school. We don't see that anymore. Putting money back towards education and just different services outside of just policing and militarizing the police. So when we say defund the police department, it isn't, get rid of police, we don't need police. We do need police to handle criminal activities and to, patrol the neighborhood safely when it's done correctly. But we also need money to go back into the community to make them safe communities, to educate our kids, to give our kids something to do. You wouldn't have to arrest kids that are standing out on the block if they had a youth center to go to play ball at.
Right. Okay. All right. Who else wants to weigh in on that?
I was gonna kind of like say the same thing, but not as good as that. But yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I get passionate when we talk about stuff like that. I have a 4-year-old, so it's just really important to me that we begin to make the community a place where I am not afraid to raise my son. I want my baby to be able to have a future, and not a future where he is living in fear of the police or feeling unequal or inadequate. As smart and funny and charismatic as he is, he deserves to be able to have an opportunity and a chance to have the same education. We might not be able to afford to live in a neighborhood with a country club, but if we had money reallocated to neighborhoods where we could let our kids go play, it would be a lot easier. So that's what defund the police means.
Well, Tropikana, you're talking about having a son, and so a big discussion has been whether or not Black parents are having the talk with their children. Is this, the talk about how you stay alive if you're stopped by the police? And Lando, I see you've joined us. We're going to call on you in just a second so you can say hello and join in. But I just wanted, since Tropikana mentioned her 4-year-old son, I wonder, is this a conversation you plan to have with him?
It's so funny that you asked me that. I had an interview with Neo yesterday, and I asked him that because he has 3 boys and a little girl. And I was like, so how do we have this conversation with our children? Because my 4-year-old is nowhere near thinking about, is he gonna die? He is thinking about cars and Mickey Mouse and karate and the Tootsie Slide and his ABCs and his favorite colors and shapes. Like, that's what my 4-year-old is talking about. So I, as a parent, I don't know how to have a conversation with a 4-year-old who I don't want to shorten or make the world small for him. He doesn't deserve it, but I know that that's a conversation I'm really going to have. And I don't know how you have that conversation with your child. One thing that I do know is that the very first time that my son, I've always tried to live, since I've had him, in a neighborhood where he wouldn't have to necessarily worry about hearing the police running up and down the streets, just to kind of afford him that. Sometimes, like, I'm working hella hard to be able to afford that for him. But it's almost like it's something that's ingrained, because when he very first started talking, he might have been 2.5. The first time that I heard him say that, you know, I don't want to be arrested because I don't want to die. He was 4, and he's not afraid of the fire department. I'm sorry?
I said your son said that at age 4?
No, he was 2.
He was 2.
When we first started talking. He's not afraid of the fire department. He thinks the fire department are heroes. He thinks that a fireman is a hero that he wants to be. But when he looks at the police, and I've never been arrested. We've never had the police in my house. He's never seen that. But as a little Black boy, it's almost as if it's ingrained in his thought process that the police will hurt him or that the police will kill him. And, you know, that's disheartening to me. So I'm not sure how you have that conversation with your child. So hopefully maybe y'all can tell me or teach me with that.
Okay, let's let Lando Chapman Sr. jump in. Lando, tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so sorry that, you know, I'm old school, so all these new devices and tapping in and everything, the young folks been guiding me the whole time, like, will you do this and do that? So I'm so sorry, but I'm glad to be a part of this.
No, you're good. We're so glad you're here.
How you doing? I'm just one of the community. I love Cincinnati. I've been around forever. I do old school events, you know, basically to inform, to educate, and to basically bring, you know, the older generation together, because it's a forgotten slot that's in the city because of the changing times, and you know, everything is like accelerating so fast. So some of them feel like it's moving too fast and they don't want to be around. So I just try to make sure that I can keep them with a platform that, you know, they feel comfortable, they feel safe, and whatever we know, we try to make sure that we inform them and as well incorporate the young folks so that we bridge the gap between the small footprint and the big footprint. So that's basically what I do.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. So we were talking about COVID-19. We've kind of moved to talking about the protests, and we just kind of got off on this conversation about the talk and whether or not, so Tropikana has a son who's 4, and she was saying when he was 2, he was saying how he was afraid or just wanted to make sure he wasn't arrested by the police. So what is your input on that?
He said that he was what when he was 4?
No, she was asking me, have I had the conversation with him about, you know, how to stay safe and stay alive when being arrested. And I was telling her that he's not afraid of the fire department, but he's always had like an ingrained fear of the police department. He's always been afraid of the police, and that he associates the police with killing people. And he's always felt like that.
I would say that, you know, that's it's kind of difficult because I have grandchildren, and what they see, the perception is they watch TV, they have, you know, devices and cell phones like we do. So they're seeing more of the promotion of what the police do wrong versus what the police do right. And I think that him trusting his mom and trusting his parents and listening to what you instill, what the police represent, is what's going to be that defining line for him. You know, because if you allow him to paint the picture, we can see right now it's like it's staggering and it's exaggerated. I'm not going to say exaggerated, but it's a little bit more than a little fella can handle seeing it. So he trusts you more than whatever it is that he sees. So I just think between his parents, that's something that you guys have to go ahead and kind of elaborate on and kind of make him feel comfortable that, you know, it's good and bad people no matter what the occupation is or who they are.
Right.
That's just my take.
Thanks, Lando.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, now let me ask all of you, because we've been talking about the first question that came up was about defunding the police, but I wanted to ask you in general about the protests. What do you all hope comes out of the current protest movement? What do you want to see happen? And everybody just weigh in on that. Dejah, do you want to weigh in first on that one? And you got panelists, if you're not at a noisy place, you can unmute just so you can jump in.
Yeah, I know sometimes the sound kind of like jumps in and out.
Okay.
And can you repeat that question?
Yeah, so the protest movement is going on now. It started when, you know, there've been a lot of protests going on, but, you know, after George Floyd was killed, the current protest movement started. And so my question is, what do you want to see come out of it? You know, what do you hope to see change? And I just want to hear everybody's take on that. What do you hope to see change?
For me, what I hope to see change, not only worldwide, but the police that they actually be held accountable for their actions. So there's a couple, you know, a couple new laws that they're trying to put in place for that. But I think for the most part, the people, not just Black people, but everybody, we just want to see the police just be held accountable, actually be charged with something, not just fired or just be put on administrative leave or debt or, you know, be at your desk and stuff like that. We actually want to see you be charged with murder, you know, just because they get a slap on the wrist. But there were laws, I guess, a long time ago put in place for them to kind of just, you know what I mean, just get that small slap on the wrist. So I think actually having them be held accountable for their actions, no matter what it is. And I think that's the main thing that sticks out to me. And then that's something that I really want to see. But I don't want to take a bunch of answers. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Who else wants to weigh in? I want to know, what does everybody want to see? What changes do you want to see? What do you want to see come out of this protest?
There are a couple of things that I would love to see. One, like she said, I would like to see police officers be held accountable. I would love to see some level of reform to how they are punished for their wrongdoings happen. More than anything, I would like to see, like, right now, there's like this beautiful wave of like unity, like across the country and around the world right now. I would like to see that continue, if anything else. Of course, we still have like lots of other things going on and negative things, but the general picture that you see is a lot of people standing together for human rights, not just like our rights, but for human rights. And I would love to see that continue. I love the passion that white America is kind of carrying to champion for us. And I appreciate that. So I would like to see that same level of self-accountability with them. And I would love to see us as well, just to continue to stay in such a positive way, because that unity is definitely bringing amongst change. So I would love to see that unity stay with the reform as well.
Yeah, you know, there've always been, Black people and white people and Asian people and, you know, Latino, everybody's always been together in protest movements, but it seems more so now. I mean, if you look at the 60s, it was still multiracial, but now it just seems more so. And it's, you know, like you'll even see like, you know, a young white child holding a poster that says Black Lives Matter. And that really, you know, that really just makes me want to run up and, you know, hug her. You know, I just think that's beautiful. So yeah,
that's systematic racism on a day-to-day basis in your work environment. It can, and that's one of the things that I think that I have firsthand experienced, and it can become exhausting, you know, dealing with racism that you can't really pinpoint and say, this is racism or this is wrong. I'm uncomfortable with this. You just kind of go through it on your day-to-day basis. So when you go through that and then you ride down your block in Woodlawn and you see like 60-year-old Caucasian men and women, and they have their hand painted signs that says, all we need is love and Black Lives Matter, and they're waving at you, it makes it okay. It makes you, if nothing else, it gives you the energy you need to go and fight for yourself another day. So I think that that's nice.
It makes a huge difference, yeah. Simone, did you want to pitch in on that one? But what change would you like to see? You're unmuted, go ahead. Oh, you were unmuted. You're muted again. Okay. Try it again. All right. Okay, so yeah, you have to hit your unmute button. Okay, Simone, we're gonna come back. That's all right, you're fine. Okay, Paydro, do you want to wait? We're gonna come back to Simone. Paydro, unmute and let us know.
I mean, it's something has to happen. The reason why people are doing that and protesting, I feel like what we're trying to get out of it as a whole, I feel like we're trying to create some kind of unity within our people or within people, period, because obviously it's still segregated. Regardless of how everybody think of it, it's still segregated. Everybody say that no racism is alive, but we see it every day. Some people might only see it when it hit the big screen and in the news. We see it every day, constantly, because we're out here in the urban community and we see it all the time. So when it hit the mainstream, it's like, all right, it finally got out there. But we see it every day. So while we're protesting it, a lot of people was like, oh, you didn't know this guy, you didn't know this person, so why are y'all protesting? Y'all don't really know this guy or this person that it happened to. It's not that we don't know them, it's we understand that they pain because we seen it happen closer here, but didn't make the mainstream. You see what I'm saying? So the reason why we're protesting and doing the things that we're doing is to create some kind of unity and to get away from the racism and really get equality, because we really don't have equality regardless of how people say we do, but we really don't.
Well, did it surprise you? So, you know, we watched George Floyd get killed and the country, the world really erupted. And then just a few weeks later, we saw Rayshard Brooks get killed. You know, I mean, he had pulled over into a Wendy's parking lot. He had been out, I think it was a birthday party. You know, sounds like he decided, probably shouldn't be driving, kind of pulled over to sleep it off. You know, you saw his mannerisms, you know, with the police. He was really respectful. Was that surprising that, you know, maybe somebody's not listening?
It really wasn't a surprise to me, to be honest. I mean, if you want me to be honest, it really wasn't a surprise to me because, as I said before, it happens. It just don't make it to TV. It happens. It just don't make it to TV. But when you see now this is the problem now. You have social media. Now that it can be broadcasted, it's a problem for the police because now people are recording. At first it was happening, but people wasn't catching it on camera. Now people know, like, oh, you see somebody stop, pull out your phone because something possibly could go wrong. Mm-hmm. So now the system is is having a problem with this because they not used to being broadcasted. Now people are recording them just for traffic stops or anything because something could go wrong.
Right.
At first it wasn't a platform for people to you know what I mean, like see it and actually visually see it. People wasn't seeing it at first. People was just hearing about it like, oh yeah, the police killed this person, it happened this way. Now you're seeing it because of social media. Now that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. That probably makes a difference. And, you know, Paydro, it reminds me of something you said earlier. And actually several of you said this with COVID-19. And I think Tropikana, you might be the one who said this. There were just like numbers, like all these numbers coming up on television, numbers and numbers and numbers. And it really didn't hit home until you started seeing people you knew get it. Paydro said you actually got it. Dejah, you felt like you had it too. So until it started really kind of hitting home. So maybe with the, with the murders of, of folks that maybe seeing it is what really brought it home. But, there's some comments. I don't want to ignore the people who are calling in. So Victor Phillips has a few comments and questions. One said, and so you all just, tell us what you think about this. Victor says, more extensive training should be mandated for all police officers. Can we start a look at community policing? We need a great bridge within the community and our police force. And he also said we need incentives for police officers to live in the communities they serve. Do you think that'll make a difference? So who wants to comment on those two? Somebody can jump in.
I don't think, I think that, you know, that's a gift and a curse, because unfortunately what happens is we had it where growing up, I'm 52 years old. I come from the West End, and then I moved to Kennedy Heights. So it was night and day in paying attention to how I noticed the evolution of systemic racism, because I came from being where what they called it was quarantine, when you had, you know, the West End, when you had English Woods, Millville, Winton Terrace, you know, the Fair Apartments. They knew where the crime was because it was set up that way, you know, for minorities and lower incomes. So they understood what it was. So the police officers who were in the neighborhood, we knew them because they came from the same settings, from the same environments. But as they evolved and they tenured, you know, and their pay got better, then they took their families, you know, to Forest Park and abroad, you know, when Westchester developed, and, you know, the Blue Ashes and different things like that. So, you know, of course, they didn't want to be in those same environments that they came from, which, yeah, it made sense because they already knew who did what. You know, it was already like that. So when I look at and I see the riots and the different things going on, what I would like to see in the city is, I see my city evolving. I see that we paid several $100 million for stadiums. We just put a FCC stadium in the West End, and we pay for it. But what I'm not seeing is the color in the city. So you have almost 50-50 in this city, but when you look at minority contracts, you know, those are still at a small percentage. Why is it in 2020 that we're still waiting to be given anything? So you're saying less than maybe 7 or 8% of those contracts are for minorities. Why is that? Why do we keep allowing that to happen, but yet we pay for the things that we don't want? But yet we watch them, they tore down all these neighborhoods, they opened up a floodgate, and now the whole city has, the floodgates have been opened. So now you have crime in areas that you never had before because you tore down the West End, because you tried to put subsidized housing with fair market renters, which we all know that would not work. So when they seen that it didn't work, now look at what you have throughout the city. If you knew it was in Fairmount and the West End, Winton Terrace, you knew what a crime was, now you're having crimes in Addison. You're having it in, you know, all the way Eastgate, because you created subsidized housing to move those new millennials back downtown where the money is, near the water. So the thing that I would like to see is, I would like to see the equality across the board. Is you shouldn't have 7 or 8 businesses in over the round that's Black. It should be 50-50. I don't like when we portray or we promote that, oh, they just opened 2 new Black businesses, but you have 700 white ones. So why is that? Why do we look at the 7 entertainment districts and we can go and count how many minority businesses are there, but the city is almost 50-50? So if you're rioting, what you need, first of all, is convictions. When you get convictions, then it starts to change the thought process of the officers that's doing wrong. Because now not only can I be charged, my partner can be charged. So now you start to think different. But if you had a behavior where you were above the law and we do what we want to do, we police the way that we want to, that's why you have 500-600 Black men that's been killed. But how many convictions have you had from the officers?
Right.
Across the nation? Over how many decades?
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay, so let me, because some questions are coming up and I don't want to leave out. So one question is, and this is, so everybody should answer this. How is each of you using your platform as an influencer? You're all influencers, you're all well known. How are you using your platform to make a difference in Cincinnati? And that's, you know, that's a big responsibility. Being an influencer is a big responsibility. So just give us a little bit about how you're using or feel like you can use your platform. Okay, who wants to weigh in on this first? Simone, are you unmuted yet?
No, she's still muted.
And I was gonna say, see,
Hey,
you know what? You're hitting
hey.
it too fast because you hit on mute and then you'll get right back to mute.
Hey, I gotta cut out of here, you guys. I'm actually at my daughter's birthday party. She gonna kill me if I don't get on this bus. And I held it up so we can have this conversation. But it was good to talk to you guys, and hopefully we accomplished what we were trying to accomplish today. And whenever the next one is, I'm here for it.
All right, thank you, Paydro. Thank you for joining us. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Okay, what's up?
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dejah, tell us, how are you using your platform to make a difference?
So I utilize Instagram more than I do Facebook. So with Facebook, sometimes I just, I might share a post, sometimes I might read, but Facebook kind of gets lengthy. But on Instagram, it's kind of easier for millennials to look at because you have different infographics, as we discussed a few days ago. You have the Shade Room that kind of shares stuff. So I usually share a lot on my stories because my story tends to get more traffic than the actual, just an actual post. So I share a lot of things on my story, just as far as percentage rates, as far as the COVID, any video, especially with Rashard down in Atlanta, sharing that video, just kind of informing my followers on what's going on, because even though it's going to hit the news, somebody might not watch the news all the time. So we kind of get a lot of our information from social media. So I do that. And then I also try to just continue to inform and stay up to date with, my family and my close friends that I talk to on a daily basis. So then that way, when they go out into the world or they get on their Instagram, they're going to see whatever we were talking about on the phone. So then it's actually gonna, my sister, she just graduated high school. So me telling her something, okay, I'm gonna put it on my story, or she'll send me stuff that I had no idea about. So I think really just sharing a lot of just different information on my story on Instagram.
Oh, that's great. Okay, thanks.
Tropikana? I do the same. And I'm on air. So we have a lot of these discussions on air. I've been blessed to have an opportunity to work in a lot of different markets. And in doing so, we've built I've had an opportunity to build a nice network of friends who are radio personalities. So for me, every season, I kind of try to use my platform to be able to be a positive influence in the community or do different things. But with COVID, I was not able to really do a lot of stuff outside because my son has underlying symptoms. So what I did was a lot more back end things. I have an organization of DJs that I'm a part of called the Allegiance, and it's 75 DJs across Kentucky and across the Midwest. So what we do is when breaking news is happening, I was on the radio in Louisville. When things began to kind of get on the move with Breonna Taylor, we would share information as it would develop amongst each other so that we would make sure that we were disseminating factual information and keeping people abreast of what was really going on a consistent basis. And we kind of have built that network between Kentucky, Ohio, as well as St. Louis. And we just kind of stay in tune so that at least when we're on air, a lot of times working for corporations, you can't really say your full opinion on how you feel about things, but you can make sure that you're giving them factual information and telling them what's going on in the city. And if there are protests going on, I might not be able to be there, but I can have the protest organizers on the show, or have their acting come on the show and talk about what's going on with COVID. So that's how I utilize my platform.
So for you all, what's the best way for people to find out what's going on? People are always calling in, when is a protest going to be? Because there's so many different organizers. I'm really impressed with that. There's so many people out there, just like, DJ HD organized a protest. I see Nature Brooks is out there doing stuff. Miriam Wade's doing. I mean, so many people are out there organizing. Clark Griffith. Names. We keep hearing, and then lots of others, and they're out there doing a great job, and they're keeping it peaceful and really focusing on the message. So I'm just, and then you all are all influencers. So how do you recommend that people find out what's going on?
The truth is just what Dejah said. Social media has become the biggest gift to the world. I can tell you where a protest is going on in almost any city in the world by just getting on Instagram and looking, you know. And I think it's awesome that there are so many different protests and organizers doing it, because it's not letting the movement die. It continues to live on in each place. So just by checking the people that you trust, the trusted sources that you know, and checking your timeline or asking your friends that are on social media, you can't miss it because it's always on social media.
That's fantastic. Okay, so wait, so we have a few questions here. Okay, let me grab these. Oh, wait a minute, guys. All right, here's something. Okay, so Victor said, great point, Lando. I think our city needs to spend more money in lower income areas to keep our officers local. That's been a big discussion. Do officers need to live in the communities, or at least in the city that they're serving? Right now, they don't have to. We also need incentives for businesses to come into areas like Avondale, Bond Hill, etc. I'd love to see, he said, an Olive Garden or an Outback in Avondale. What do you all say about that?
I'll go get some bread, some sticks in Avondale.
I mean, they need a grocery store too.
Can we start there?
Well,
Can
the problem is
a black-owned grocery store in Cincinnati, please? Can we get one of those?
yeah, we definitely need that. No, how about a black franchise? Not just a grocery store. We need franchises.
Yes, we do.
We want a franchise. And I think that it's almost like the same that they don't put a Chick-fil-A in the hood. You know, it's like, I guess it's based on income. You know, when you go to certain Krogers, what I noticed is if I'm on the west side, they have items that is not in the Krogers in Harrison and vice versa, because it's based on demographics. So I don't know if a high income, like an Olive Garden or something, would survive based on the income base that's in the area. Even though Avondale is broke up into 3 different incomes, you got North, South, and Avondale. So I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Okay. So hey, so listen. So several people mentioned black-owned franchises. Someone said we need a black-owned bank. And then let me get to Kelly Prather. Kelly, thanks for joining us. And Kelly said, what would it take for the promoter and influencers to unite?
We are united. We here.
We are
right
united.
All it
We right here. We are.
It literally doesn't take anything but a phone call. For the real, I'm not gonna say there's no such thing as fake influencers, but there are some people who are dedicated to positive progression, and there is no ego involved in that. So people who have a genuine love for people, it literally only takes a phone call. If you pick up the phone and call and say, hey, Trop, I need you to be there. As long as I can get there, or if I need a babysitter or somebody gonna come get Boogie, I'm gonna be there as soon as you need me, you know? So it's nothing but Lando doing just what he did and saying, Trop, I need you to get on this call. It doesn't take much.
All right, that's great. Okay, well, listen, so Dr. Melba Moore, and Kevin said he has input for this question. Kevin, go ahead, and that's Kevin Farmer. Go ahead and give us your input. While you're doing that, let me just say, because we're getting near the end, but Dr. Melba Moore, our Cincinnati Health Commissioner, was kind of waiting for a while on the phone, and then she got cut off, but she wanted to talk about testing sites. So in a minute, we're going to call Renee Mahaffey-Harris from the Health Gap, and I think she can give us an update because there is some good news about some new testing that's coming up. But, you know, before we get to Renee, and she's going to wrap up for us, you know, I want to make sure, one, that everybody knows there is a survey. Please take it. It's down there. You know, we'll bring it up into the chat in just a minute. I'm calling my daughter Celeste to come get that in the chat. But let me just ask you guys to, you know, make your closing remarks. And really what I want to know is, do you think that your generation, that you all are misunderstood by everyone else? What do you want people to know? And everybody just go one by one. You can just unmute and go ahead and talk. We're getting the survey up right now.
In closing, I will say, I don't know if I think that we're misunderstood. I think that sometimes we're not listened to. I think that sometimes we are kind of looked at, you know, as the misguided. They are the dreamers. They just want to have a good time generation, and that's not true. I think that we are definitely in tune with what's going on more than a lot of people think and know. I would like to say in closing to please go get tested. We have to work on normalizing getting tested. It's not a death sentence. And even for myself, when I went to go get tested on Tuesday, I was nervous pulling up and didn't want nobody to know it was me. And when I pulled up to the line, they was like, hey, Trop, come on, girl. So I just want you to know that it's not a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. And you could be saving your mother's life or your grandmother's life. You might be asymptomatic and not knowing that you are carrying the virus. Go get tested. It's quick. It's easy. I got my results in 25 minutes, came back negative, and I feel better knowing that when I go pick up my son that he's going to be okay because I don't have COVID-19. So normalize getting tested, and y'all tell y'all people go get tested too.
And it doesn't hurt.
And it does not hurt.
It does not hurt. So
It stings.
all right. Yeah, who's next with the closing remarks? Dejah, you want to go ahead?
All I want to say.
Oh, Lando's talking. Okay, go ahead, Lando.
Go ahead, Dejah. Okay, I just wanted to say first, I want to thank everybody on the call because these are the voices of Cincinnati, and it was a reason that this particular group was handpicked because their platforms are so huge and their voices are so strong. But what it is that they really care about their platform and the people who support them. So in doing that, they're unselfish. Therefore, you can educate and inform because the community trusts them. That's the reason they built followings. So that was one of the reasons why I sought out to actually ask each and every one of them personally, would they be a part of this? And I just wanted to thank them, because that's what we're here to do. If you have that platform and you are blessed to have someone to follow you, then we should educate and inform and align and connect one another. That's the way that we grow.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Simone, I hate to ask you, can you get unmuted? We're gonna have to have Simone on. Oh, Simone's unmuted. Go ahead. Woo, all right. You go, Simone. Let's hear your voice. All right. Well, Simone, you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Okay. Simone? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to agree with everyone else. You should get tested if you are showing symptoms. All my friends had it December, January, and February.
Had COVID?
Yes. They didn't test it, but they felt like they were dying. None of them had the flu or anything like that. But don't be afraid to go to the hospitals. I know that's a big stipulation on the Black community that we don't like to go to the hospital or anything like that. Take care of yourselves.
Absolutely. We need you here. We need you here. So everybody's gotta take care of yourself. Thank you. That's a great message. Dejah?
Yeah, so I need to go get tested just because it could be, in my system and I could be a carrier and not even know it. So definitely, I think once we continue to bridge the gap and actually work together and build unity within our own community, that's when we'll be able to extend that and start to change the world.
All right. And you know what? You all are already changing the world because this movement has made people sit up and pay attention and realize, we can't just be complacent. We've got to make some changes. And so we are listening. And I appreciate all that all of you are doing. I want to thank Lando and Tropikana, Simone, Dejah. I know DJ HD had to take care of something, so we're hoping everything is going okay. You all joined him down at Washington Park, and we want to thank Paydro, who had to leave just a few minutes early for his daughter's birthday party. You all are wonderful. Keep doing what you're doing. We're going to keep following you, and we're going to keep listening. So thank you so much. I want to introduce Renee Mahaffey-Harris, from the president and CEO of the Center for Closing the Health Gap, who makes all this possible. Yes.
No, that's you all.
So we're gonna close out with a message from Miss Renee.
Well, first of all, I want to thank each of you for joining, and I want you to know that you just have begun being a part of being the voice in helping elevate your messages and being able to help us really help each other ensure that COVID-19 does not continue to spread in our communities. And so I am asking each of you to join us in being a part of building messages that reach those who follow you, those who you are already touching. And I also really just appreciate all that you shared, because it is about our unity. You each have a voice, and it is about young, old. I'm on the old end. I'm not too old, but we must unite together. We need each other. And I know that together we will overcome the systematic injustices that have persisted in our nation, in our city, our state. We will overcome this time, and we will be at a new place for each of us in which we understand what our health means. Our health means economics. Economics then drive our ability to have education, housing, transportation, be able to support our families. All of those factors contribute to where we are today relative to these two pandemics that we are facing: the pandemic of COVID-19 and the pandemic of racism in our country. So I look forward to working with each of you. I look forward to elevating your voices, and I know that we will overcome this time together. So I thank you, and I look forward to working with each of you. I'm overwhelmed with excitement and joy of the fact that we have you and you have us, and together we are going to make the changes that need to happen, and we're going to advocate and demand the changes we need. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to our moderator. Thank you, Lando, for bringing everybody together. And this is not the beginning, because now is the time for us to unite and get it done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.